The Hairdresser, the podcast. And if you haven't noticed, I have a different face here with me if you're watching live. So we're going to get into that because I do have a special guest and someone that is near and dear and close to my heart who I love so much. But before I introduce him, uh, we are here to still remind you we are here, we are queer. You can message us. You can contact us through the hairdresser hotline. It is blowing up all the time, y'all. Like, so if you have questions about your business or maybe something you're going through in the industry and you just want our advice and you want us to read it live on our podcast and answer it for you, we would love to do that. The number is 201-564-5007. Remember that if you call and leave a message, we won't answer, we won't be responding. And if you leave a text message, no one's going to respond to you as well, but we will respond to you on the podcast. Let's not waste any more time and get right into it. My queen, my Wes Sharpton from Hair Story. He's the creative artistic director over at Hair Story. And y'all have no idea how much I love this man. Like, I wish I could see you as much as I used to, and I can't. So if you ever want to fly out to Pittsburgh and visit me, I'd love
Oh
that.
my God, I would love to. I actually would.
You're hiding upstate. So.
I am hiding upstate.
Wes, you've been on our podcast twice now, which is incredible. I feel like you've seen every era of DTH. Like you've watched us be on tour. You've watched us be just me and David. You watched us hire coaches. You've watched us evolve in the industry, and you have been like one of our biggest supporters as well as Hair Story as well throughout the years. And we are so grateful. But we have a lot of new listeners and not everyone knows who you are, and they freaking should. So I would love for you to just give a little tidbit about who you are, what you do, where you're at.
Totally.
We're going to get into some like real tea about the industry. So
I love it. So I am originally from Oklahoma. So throughout the podcast, y'all will probably notice there will be a little what I call country code switching. I have navigated my life being like, hey y'all, and then of course I'm in the room with you. Let me be very serious and be commanding. And so that's where I'm originally from. I have lived in New York on and off for over 15 years. I worked at Bumble and Bumble, and that's where I actually originally met Michael Gordon, who was the founder of Bumble. That's where I met Eli, who is the founder of Hair Story. That is where I met Dina, who is the CEO of Hair Story, which you guys have had as a guest.
I was going to say we've had an episode with her, so they should know who she is.
Check that out. Love Dina. Love Dina. She's my heart. And so it's really like, so I really I always say, when we talk about Hair Story, I kind of came with the building. I've always been,
you came with the building. I love that.
I've always been a hairdresser all my life. I mean, since I was like 18 years old. So I've definitely seen a lot of the changes that have happened through our industry that was just like, it felt quick in many regards, even though when I look back, it hasn't been quick. I mean, but I just think that it's been a wild ride, and I'm so happy that I've been able to be in this fortunate position to be a hairdresser before social media, before the internet, really, to be really honest with you, before it was really a thing, so I really kind of like love that I've seen all the world, so I kind of have a really big broad scope on it all. So but to boil it down, I've been with Hair Story for forever, and my real role there is to really ensure that when we think or take action that concerns the business, that I really that there's a voice in the room that represents the hairdressing community. We really are like, let's double down on the hairdressing community. We really think that that's the difference between us and everyone else. I mean, we make really great products, but like, it's really that trying to invest in hairdressers, then make it really, really, really different, and not it just to be like kind of like word You know what I mean? Because I feel like everybody
Buzzwordy.
says that. Everyone's like, "Oh, for the hairdresser." It's like, yeah, what? But
And then they're the
really?
first to attack each
But
other.
where?
Like,
But where? How? Okay, cool. Awesome. So yeah, so that's really, that's amongst, it is a small business, so I feel like I've got a million jobs at the end of the day. But
yeah.
really, when I look at what my role is there, is to make sure that there's somebody being like, "Hey, y'all,
Mhm.
here's how that looks. Here's how that
Yeah.
lands. Here's how that affects us." So
From the
that's really,
eyes of a
yep,
hairdresser, which is so
exactly.
fun.
So through the lens of a hairdresser, that's what I do.
Hmm.
Cool,
And
cool.
also, you're not going to mention this, but you shifted into like house flipping over the past
I
4 months or
did,
four
yeah.
years.
So yeah, I
Like,
mean, but you know what?
and
It's
that's part
really,
of the artistic journey too. Like,
yes, it's really one of those things too, where I feel like it's actually oddly natural for hairdressers, because at the core of our job, I need to be able to look and see potential and possibility where somebody else doesn't see it. You know
mhm.
what I mean? Like, someone's like, "How would I look on it with a bang?" I'm like, "Great." I'm like, "How would that house look,
Yeah.
painted black?" Great. You know what I
It's a
mean? Like,
beautiful
it's
home.
like,
Like, it's so
so
beautiful. You did a
so
great job.
yeah. Oh, thank you.
I'm proud
So,
of you. And
oh,
the reason
thanks,
why I brought it up too
mom.
is one, you should be proud of that because it is, my wife and I have two homes.
Yep.
We got into over pandemic investing our money into like property and like trying to build our wealth for our kids and our family.
Yep.
And the reason why I bring it up is because just a sidebar for everyone, like this is something that we teach at our core at DTH is having investments, whether you're buying the building that your salon is working in, whether you're
Yep.
buying a home, making enough money on paper so that you
Right.
can yeah, you can get like everyone's trying to hide money from the government and like I get it. But at the
No.
same time, I'm like, no, like let's show how much we can actually make as hairdressers. Let's build the wealth of an
Exactly.
industry together because it's huge. And how great that like your hairdresser who was able to not only be a part of this incredible vision with Hair Story, but also be able to use your money in a really proactive way and do something impactful for your life. So I had to bring it up because that right there is like what we bring up to all of our students of like, what's your future going to look like? Where is your
Yeah.
investments beyond just being a hairdresser? Like, what do you own? What do you value? You can't, our bodies start to break down. Like, we can't do hair forever. So,
No, it is a reality.
unfortunately,
It's a reality. I mean, I
I
think that's
wish.
the thing. I mean, at a certain point, you really have to go, wow, this job is based upon my body mechanics. And I think that is,
Mhm.
and then also it's really trying to be, I mean, I'm learning, like, I wish that it's a battle for me. It's a battle of story, right? I
Mhm.
always think that you are the story you tell about yourself is really
Yeah.
my thought process. And so I have to be really, really careful because I came from kind of I mean, I grew up, we didn't have a lot of money. I mean, we had a lot of love in my house, but we didn't have a lot of money. And so you own that, and that always comes with its own journey. Like, you can get a little squirrel mentality about stuff, and you have to be very careful there too, that you're not really being, um, that you're not overcorrecting, in a way for your childhood. So
Yeah.
it's really, really important, that I think that we're always examining our relationship with money. And that's also one of those
Yes.
things, it's like one of those things that, you guys talk about thinking about, like, charging hourly, and really
Mhm.
owning your price without apology. And it's such an interesting thing for me because I remember being in a space where it's like I always felt like I needed to apologize. Like, "Oh, I raised my prices. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry." Like, you know
Where
what
we
I
should be
mean? Like,
celebrating it like any other promotion in the world, right? Like,
exactly.
it's
So
sad.
it's one of those things where I always have to navigate through, my own lens of life and be like, "You know what? Take a moment and where's that coming from? Is that really the truth of your situation today? Or is that just something that you've held on to? Or are you reacting in a way because this is what you come from?" So it's a really interesting kind of thing that I always got to work on myself anyway.
Yeah. I love that you brought up your relationship or hairdressers need to have a strong relationship with money. And it kind of transitions, our conversation. I want to talk about retail a little bit because I think there's this for everyone listening. Obviously, we have very strong opinions about retail, but I think there's like because we have so many strong opinions on retail, people assume that we don't believe or like retail, and I am here to crush that. We love retail. We just want it to be profitable. And
Right.
retail, investing in big brands where you have to do a huge buy-in, it's going to create cash flow if you're selling it. If you're
Mm-hmm.
selling it, and I think that's the missing key point. If you're selling it, it's going to bring in a lot of cash flow. But after you reinvest, after you are paying out your commissions, after you're doing all that, the profit margin is so low that it's like, is it worth it? I'm paying a front desk
Right.
person to dust these,
Yeah.
it's just like I'm forcing my staff to sell products constantly. Like it's an exhausting, never ending cycle. And at DTH, we're really pro affiliate link, mostly because you can make so much money beyond the chair
Yeah.
effortlessly. And that was one of the
Exactly.
big reasons that we aligned with Hair Story, because of your whole company values and setup. And I really want to ask you, like, we were talking about it before we started recording, because that's what happens, we pre-talk.
Yeah.
And one of the things you said is like Hair Story shift, like, yes, we are affiliate links to the max because you believe in the profitability of it,
Yeah.
but you're also like, well, if you want to have it on your shelf, you can. And I think that's where retail needs to change, of like,
Yeah.
if I want to buy $100 in retail to
Yep.
put on a little shelf in my salon,
Totally.
I can with Hair Story,
Exactly.
versus being forced to do holiday promotions and
Yeah.
a huge buyout, and you have to have this line and you have to do this. And it's like, that part is so exhausting. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts and feels around that.
I think the thing is I think that we have to examine, I think for us, I think sometimes when you are navigating kind of the newness, right, of success and what that looks like for you and what that means to you, sometimes when we have been trained in a certain way that's like fake it till you make it, right? And
Yeah.
so one of the things is just blindly kind of, actually, you need to apologize that I used the word blindly. That I'm going to correct myself there. I'm so sorry.
Love it.
So I think it's something that we have just accepted in our lives, that we
Yeah.
say, okay, cool. Like, you know what? This is how you do it. This is it. No thought process. And I think that we have to examine all of us and find out if it's authentic to us and if that's
Mm-hmm.
the right path of success for us, right? So literally, whenever I say that, that means we got to examine what has happened in the world.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that at one point, if you had a really awesome shelf and it was full of product, then maybe you weren't successful. But think about those times, right? Like, think
Mm-hmm.
about the fact that, like, number one, what you were buying at that point was exclusivity. And there
Yes.
was a time in this industry where it was exclusive. It was saying, hey, if you sign up with us, we're not going to sell to another salon within a 5 to 10 mile radius, blah, blah, blah. And those were brands that had marketing power behind them. So people were like, I'm going there to check it out. It was this whole system that was like, okay, this all works. I know it's a big buy-in, but it's a win-win. It's
Mm-hmm.
me committing. They're giving me an exclusive. And then those areas began to shrink and shrink and shrink. And suddenly it was no longer just like, you were the only player in town with that
Yeah.
product line, and that was cool. So you won the game. It was like, anybody can have it, then Sephora can have it, then Ulta can have it, and then Amazon can have it. And when Amazon and everyone could purchase anything online, that's when it really started to shift for us, because it was literally like, well, what do I do with this, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do I do this? And so I think in a modern world, I think if you're someone who is really kind of like, if you're really deeply ingrained with your clients, meaning you've been with them for a really, really long period of time, they really 100% trust you. Maybe you see some new clients, but that's not the bulk of your work. You're not
Yeah.
building, right? But you see them on a regular, they take your word. It is that kind of solid relationship. Then I think a 100% link is so easy, because
Yes.
you're literally like, here you go, boom. It's like you got your thing. You know the boundaries, the way that you want to communicate with them, right? So it doesn't feel weird, you're like, I'll email you. If you're a texter, you can be like, I'll text you. You can be like, it's in my link in my bio, check it out, blah, 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 with all my other things, my recs. So that's all there. Now, if you're kind of still building something, then I would say that I look at why people buy online as well. And I think it's all about convenience, right? Like
Yes.
if you're a Starbucks, it makes good sense to be on every single block because eventually someone's going to want a cup of coffee and you're going to be right there. So that makes sense for them to be every single place that's possible. And so maybe that makes a little bit of sense for you. Maybe if someone's sitting in your chair and they want to leave with that physical product, you're the most convenient place. But I would say follow up and say, buy it here first so you can leave with this today if that feels cool for you. Yep. But here's the link because you're just going to want to get it shipped to you afterwards.
Yeah. You're going to want that consistency. Two things. One, I was thinking when you were talking, I remember being in this pond and I feel so bad for salon owners. Like, when I was a younger stylist, I was mad at my salon owner, but now that I'm older and a business owner, I'm more like, oh, they had to be aggressive with us about selling because their investment, it was an investment, it was a huge risk. And so I get it. And, all the contests they did, I was really good at selling product. And I remember, at one point my client was like, I go home with a product every time I see you and I'm here every 4 weeks. Like this was back when people would come every 4 to 6 weeks, consistently. Not saying that not everybody does, but it's shifted a lot. And she's like, every time, and I knew what she was taking home. So I was trying to, where do you need a refill? And where do you need this? And she's like, I need you to tell me, like, she brought in all the products. It was probably like hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of products that I have sold her over the past year. And she's like, I'm using this one. I don't know what to do with all these. You did something fun with my hair. I took the product home. She's like, show me what to do. So I had to like go through and like show her how to use all these products. Wow. I was so embarrassed because it was like, I knew I could get her to buy it. And it was part of my job description. And I was just like, but how is this beneficial? Like my job is to build trust with this person. And I'm, it felt gross. I'm going to be honest. It felt yucky. And, another thing too, as the world started shifting and I was, doing a lot of editorial work and I was going set to set and I was bringing, I'm still avid hair story user. So I'm bringing these products and someone picking it up and going, I love this. Where do I get this? And I text them the link. Yeah. I mean, that was so, they never even sat in my chair. I never did their hair as far as style.
Exactly.
And, Hair Story was able to save all of our students. They were able to create profits for themselves over pandemic because they were able to just continue to sell from their Instagram. And I think that's the missing piece that people don't understand. It's like, you shouldn't be the client. Like the product company should be working with you to profit together. And that's where we really have to get into of like using affiliate links. You want products on your shelf? You do you, boo.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
Great. And if it's selling and you're making money, I love that for you. But I also am like, why turn away links as well?
Oh my God.
Especially with social media. I probably sell more still to this day on Instagram to people that I've never met before than in my chair.
And what's so great too is like we get a lot of like owners that suddenly actually get excited when in their first gut reaction is, oh my God, like why would everyone here have their own individual link? Why would that work like that? And we connect them, right? So that, it's beneficial for the owner as well. Like it's not just like, oh, bye, I don't make any money anymore. Yeah. Cool. But what's so dope about it that I like love is suddenly an owner starts putting things together and they go, wait a minute. So if they sell online and I still make, a percentage, they're motivated because they have their autonomy back. Yeah. They also get a higher margin than what I can give them.
What is that margin again?
It's 25%. So, it's like
versus the in salon 10% that's usually given.
Exactly. So then it's also like what's so cool is they're literally in this headspace where this is when it really starts to click for them. They go, oh shit, hold on, wait a minute. So I also don't have to be in the back calculating how much I owe someone. So the hours of my life actually that I get back not being in an office somewhere trying to figure out
How
how
much
much
they need
I
to
need to
sell.
be, oh, they sold this much, so that puts them in this zone. And that's, it's like all of that stuff that just is like, can be really time consuming because most people that I know that signed up to be in this industry, they wanted to own a salon because it was like their next step, or they wanted to nourish people and watch them grow. Their last thing that they want to be doing is like calculating how much on what, scale someone needs because, they sold blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then if they don't, then they've shifted it to their front desk person, which is also kind of,
An
let's be real,
investment.
fading fast as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's just one of those things where it just kind of like, it's another way to kind of automate in a way that I love because I'm always excited about automation in this way that we can really use it to kind of grow our business. I think that that's what's so exciting to me is that this plays a crucial role in that. So I love it. I mean, that's one of my favorite
Yeah.
things about this. And I am deeply touched that we are really like, that was one of our proudest moments to be like, to hear people literally be like, oh my God, thank you so much. People that really didn't use the system at all. They were like,
Yes.
Hey, I got Hair Story, but never like did anything where it's
Yeah.
like, suddenly they were like, thank you for creating this thing because you have literally saved my life because I cannot work, but my clients want to support me. Now
Yes.
they love these products. This
And they
makes
don't have
sense.
to
Boom.
do a huge $10,000 buy-in. They don't have to worry
No.
about all that. And that's a lot of our DTH salons just invest in enough for the back bar that they
Yeah,
want for the, what they need for their space.
totally.
And then they have QR codes on their mirrors. The clients
Hmm.
can buy right there. And it's shipped like, no joke, like next day. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
whenever I reorder my stuff, it's like it's here so quick. So I'm just like, okay, all right,
Oh yeah.
y'all are on it. Um, I love that because I think that's the thing. It's like we have to reimagine how retail is, and there's so many
Hmm.
people out there that are so against us talking about this. I mean, like harsh to the point of just like hatred, and it's
Mm.
just like, but like, why are you holding on? Like, why can't both be true? Like,
Yeah.
if you're loving having products all over your shelves, like awesome, but like do the math.
Yeah.
And if it's still valuable to you, do you. But at the same time, like, why couldn't you also look into this? Like, and I think that's the thing too. It's like our industry gets very like, it's this way or the highway. And it's just like,
Hmm.
well, what if there is an alternative? I've also seen so many businesses that went under because of
Yeah.
investment in retail that, they couldn't sell it. They had to discount it. They had to hope for a buyback. And it's like,
Yeah.
that just does not sound fun to me. So I'd love to know your views, as we're wrapping up and we're coming to the end, just kind of like where you see the future of maybe our industry and retail specifically going as we start to evolve and grow.
I mean, I think that more and more, I think links are going to be a thing. I think that the reality is this, is I think that what is going to happen that's going to be different, I feel like is I feel like hairdressers are going to be really on the rise and on demand because of the fact that um I think the influencer game is a little bit dying down a little bit. I
Hmm.
think that there's a little bit of an atmosphere of not trusting people. I think that people
Yeah.
loved an influencer, when YouTube started and people were like, "Oh my God, someone that looks like me has, some hair
Yeah.
like me and she's using this product and it makes sense and blah 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 blah." And that really was like, oh my God, they're giving this thing. But I think it feels a little bit bought and paid for at this point for folks. And so I think the return to people looking to people who have experience and knowledge
Hmm.
is going to be the leader in all spaces. So
I agree.
it's not just,
And that's us, y'all.
that's it, y'all. We're it. We're it. And so that's the deal. And really recommending things that make sense case by case. I think
Yeah.
wrapping it in education, it's not just like, oh, I like this, period. It's like, I like this because it does this, this, and this. And if you have this hair, you're going to get this type of reaction. So I feel like it is leading more towards a space that for us feels more authentic
Yeah.
because A, it talks to something that we know to be true. B, it's just not trying to sell something because of selling sake. It's turning it back into kind of a real service oriented concept. It's
Yeah.
problem solving through the product, right? Like it's going, I choose this because it solves this problem, and if you have this problem, then pick this up because it's for you. It
Yeah.
That feels more true to our nature than being like tap dancing around and being like, here you go, sparkles and ponies, boo-boos.
Yep.
Like, so I think that's really kind of, I think that that's going to be the future is education. I also think
Agreed.
that we're going to have to be um, prepared to move into those educational spaces, and it doesn't need to look the way that it always looked because I'm a person who I understand we have been the people who have been like, okay, like, let me teach you now, like in the salon, in the chair, like that's okay if that's what you love and that's how
Hmm.
you create your business. That can be, I know people who have built entire careers on the fact that they're just like, I'm a good educator to my
Yeah.
client. They love it. There are other people who are like, boo, I'm in a business. Like, I'm trying to work this out. I'm not trying to like do this every five. That's not their passion. That's
Yeah.
okay too. But what I'm kind of seeing people start to do is they kind of start to make these educational reels that are actually kind of leading. So then if a client says, I've got a question about this, be like, that's a really good question. I have a reel for that. You should
Yeah.
check
You
that
can
out.
guide them to
And
A, B,
you know
and
what I'm
C.
saying? So it's kind of like you're taking that work that used to be a lot of investment in your time and you're putting it into a place that's evergreen that you can use as a resource. So I'm seeing that. And then I think people are tapping into linking the products that they believe just work within those things. And they're just
Agreed.
authentic recommendations. So I see that happening. I also see things where I think product companies have to change. I mean, I think that why we are really successful, honestly, is because we have products that really encourage the hair to be its best version of itself. I think healthy hair is actually coming into real fruition because
Hmm.
the
For real this
reality
time,
yeah, because the
not the
truth
buzz of
is
it.
hairdressers don't, I mean, like, we devote our lives, right? Like, we love hairdressing. So for us, it's like, watch me wield this into shape.
Hmm.
Like, let it defy gravity. That's not what your client signed up to do. They don't want to do that in the morning. Like, so they need products that are like leaning towards being like, my hair is doing things naturally that just make it look better with minimal work on my own. So I think actually the shift for us as hairdressers is also kind of learning how to undo hair
Yeah.
because we wrap our brains around the service. Like, you may have to bring out, the hood dryer, boo. Like, and for me,
Yeah.
like someone who came from like like high end salon, like, oh my God, you wouldn't never do that. Like, they're paying for the blowout. Like, and so there's a different concept around hairdressing that's lending itself to be more natural, a little bit more easily attainable, that someone is paying for something that works after they leave, not just the
Hmm.
feeling of being like, on a red carpet one day once they leave
Yeah.
your thing is shifting.
Like
And so
manageable.
I think products, I think hairdressing is shifting into that natural space. And I think products that are synced and support your client's journey. Because at the end of the day, I really think we're getting to that place where it's like, I'm not successful unless my clients are actually successful, is really kind of the
Yes.
lens.
And you don't want
So
to break their trust,
I
right?
don't want to
So
break their
it's like,
trust. So
tell
never.
me what I love that response. Like that, I wholeheartedly agree. Like when it comes to the future of just the industry and retail, like what we're gonna start seeing. And I think, like you said, that some of the big brands need to adapt. And we saw during pandemic a lot of them did affiliate links and then they took them away.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Weird.
why wouldn't you keep that? Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't it be an extra source of income, or and so I think a lot of brands are still holding so tightly into that, like you said, being exclusive. But it's
Yeah.
when they're the Starbucks now, when they're in CVS and at Marshalls, and you're seeing them at Sephora, and it's like it's not that anymore. So I
Yeah.
feel like, being able to be like, I want to use you, but I don't want to invest huge amounts of money. Like, can I just buy this line, or can I just buy this? And not stopping that, like not putting unnecessary blockages, I think would be the most brilliant thing for these businesses to thrive, because people do want to use their products,
Yeah.
and they are good products, and they are, you know what I mean? Like they're the ones we grew up with, that we love, that, and it's like, but the business models have to change, because hairdressers need to profit,
Yeah.
and so should they. But
Exactly.
right now it's not cohesive. Like we need to work together, and that's what we're really trying to scream at the
I
top
think
of our
that
lungs.
absolutely. I mean, I think that's just the reality of the situation. I think that, hairdressers need to make something that is profitable. They need to make something that is also not super demanding on their time, like it's like do the education up front, and then kind of it's a little bit of a set it and forget it concept,
Mhm.
if you want, like, you know what I mean? It's like if
Yeah.
my client continues to buy something, and that's what I love too. It's like when I think about us and I think about the future, I think people are stepping up. I think I do see it. I do see companies kind of stepping up and going, here is, here's a link now for y'all. But the thing that I love the most is we have always, it's not that we just have the link, but the reality is when your client buys from you, the system recognizes them as your client. So they
Forever.
only use the link once.
Mhm.
So it's not this kind of, because I kind of don't want the future. And the reason why I'm pressing that so that hairdressers know is because it's really, really important to understand that you also don't want to put yourself in a position where you're kind of the clickbait version of
Mhm.
product sales, where you're like, buy it from me, boom, and then you think you're like set and
Yeah.
golden. Because the reality is that client's getting an email from the product
Yeah.
company. They're getting the notification about
Mhm.
launches. They're part of that email campaign. And so they're like, oh, maybe I do need some hair oil, and they're like, click, honey. And then if they click, if they have to go back to your link every time to repurchase, that means you were used once and you're not actually considered. So
Yeah.
the thing that I love about this is early in the conversation, you know, Mo, who was the president, when we started, he said, you know what, Wes, I talked to a lot of hairdressers, and he said, you know what their biggest fear is us not understanding that their clients are actually their clients. And I said 1000%. And he said, that's why this is so important that this link is forever,
Yeah.
because it's our
It
way
is
of
attached to your
saying
profile. Like
it's yes, it's
I have
it's
clients that I
it's
don't do anymore still attached to me,
yes,
and they still
exactly.
are actively using it, and they're
Yep.
still, we still talk and things like that. I moved away.
Yep.
So, and like that's great. It's like they stay yours, and that's beautiful.
I love that. I love it.
Mhm.
And so that's important to me, is that we're really kind of building something. And that's also one of those things where when we talk about trying to build these, trying to create these different ways of different revenue streams, that can become one for you. Like
Yeah.
that can become one that works for you. And that is really, I think, becomes a really empowering moment. So
I couldn't
awesome.
agree more. I love that. What can you tell us, if you can? I know secrets
Mm.
for 2025 can't be revealed quite yet, but what can we expect from Hair Story coming in the next year?
Ooh, yeah. So, I mean, I think we are doubling down on our hairdressing community. So, I think you're going to see a lot more artists creating a lot more things with Hair Story. I think you'll see a lot more kind of events. I think you're going to see a lot of very an interesting way that we want to look at kind of how we can educate in a new world. And then also, we are going to be focusing in on scalp and hair health. We're going to really be getting into it. We really are in that space where we're like, this is one of our major things. So be looking out for stuff like that. We definitely have some really great product additions to the line. We'd like to keep things small, but we've always said for a long time we are not complete or done by any means. So that's coming in. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really exciting year coming up for us. So we're buzzing all around Hair Story Studios. So it's getting good.
And I can't wait to, just see it all and just be excited. And for those of you out there that are interested, definitely check out, Hair Story. Check out our link. We definitely have fallen in love with just the business model of it and share it with all of our students. Our students are thriving with it. And of course, we love you as well. So thanks for being on.
Awesome. Thank y'all.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.